Hi everybody, and welcome to E2 Languages Core Skills Vocabulary live class. Just type in yes if you can all hear me. Okay, great. So today we're going to be looking at prefixes, and we're going to learn how to form different words using prefixes. So, what are prefixes? They're a small group of letters that come before another word. These letters include un, im, dis, ir, mis, il, or di. Okay, so 2 to 3 letters that come before a word that changes the meaning of the word. For example, happy becomes unhappy, perfect, imperfect, accountable, unaccountable, honest, dishonest, rational, irrational, communication, miscommunication, legal, illegal, and activate, deactivate. So what do you notice about the prefixes? What do they do to these words? These prefixes make the words negative, or they negate them. For example, Jenny is sane, Paul is insane, meaning not sane. David is conscious, Sally is unconscious, meaning not conscious. Paul is liked by everyone. Pam is disliked or not liked by everyone. So these prefixes make a word negative by meaning not. So before we get into the lesson, I'd like you to find the words that contain negative prefixes in this paragraph. Good, well done. So you identified 3 words with negative prefixes, and they were disagreement, undesirable, and unlikely. So negative prefixes, we're going to go through each one. We're going to start off with D. D negates verbs and nouns. Let's start off with the verb hydrate, to hydrate, or to add water. We can negate it by adding D to make it dehydrate. So this is the verb. What about the noun hydration? Hydration becomes dehydration. The verb regulate becomes deregulate. And the noun regulation becomes deregulation. Dis, we add dis in front of nouns, adjectives, or adverbs to negate them. Let's take the noun interest. We add dis to make it disinterest. Now, disinterest means not really caring, not really having, not really showing much interest. Uninterest means to have no interest at all. Okay, so you can add dis or un, and the meaning is slightly different. The adjective interested becomes disinterested. So he was disinterested in the program. He didn't really have an opinion on it. Now, we can also use dis in front of the adverb. So he listened interestedly, or he listened disinterestedly, meaning not paying any attention. Then the word honest, which is an adjective. He's an honest person, or he is a dishonest person. Honesty, the noun, becomes dishonesty, and the adverb, he behaves honestly, or he behaves dishonestly, so not honestly. Then we have the prefix mis. Mis can negate verbs and nouns. To inform is the verb. To misinform is also the verb. To misinform meaning to give the wrong information to someone. Information, which is the noun, becomes misinformation, meaning the wrong information. To represent, misrepresent, when you give a false representation to somebody. So representation becomes misrepresentation. Un can negate nouns and adjectives. For example, certain, the adjective certain becomes uncertain. Certainty becomes uncertainty. Okay, then we have this other group here that starts with I. So we have IL, IM, IR, and IN. And when do we use these? We use these to negate adjectives, adverbs, and nouns. But there's a little trick to remembering when we use them. So ill always goes before a word that starts with L. For example, legitimate becomes illegitimate. Legitimately, the adverb, becomes illegitimately. And the noun legitimacy becomes illegitimacy. So this is all about word building. We took one word and we made 6 out of it. The same with logic, illogic, logical, illogical, logically, illogically. IM goes before words that start with M or P. For example, mature, the adjective mature, becomes immature. The noun maturity, immaturity. And the adverb maturely, so he behaves maturely or he behaves immaturely. Im can come before words that start with P, so perfect, the adjective, becomes imperfect. Perfectly becomes imperfectly, and perfection becomes imperfection. So here we had the adjective, the adverb, and the noun. Then we have IR, which goes before R beginning words. For example, rational becomes irrational. Rationally, irrationally. This is the adverb. It's how somebody behaves. And then the noun, rationality, becomes irrationality. So we should always use our rationality when making a decision. We should behave rationally when making a decision, or we should be rational when making a decision. Okay, so which word we choose always depends on the structure of the sentence. Then IN goes before all other letters. So accurate becomes inaccurate. Accurately, which is an adverb, inaccurately. And the noun accuracy becomes inaccuracy. Capable, which is an adjective, becomes incapable. The adverb capably, incapably, and the noun capability becomes incapability. Flexible, inflexible, flexibly becomes inflexibly, and flexibility becomes inflexibility. Okay, so now we have built up multiple words out of one word by forming them from nouns into adjectives and into adverbs. And then we negated them by adding a prefix in the front. So we've actually built 6 words or multiple words out of one. Now, one thing to note, not all words that start with a prefix is negative. So many words we can add in an, di, dis, il, im, or ir in front of them to negate them. However, words like disgusting, dis is not a prefix here. It's not the negative of gusting. The same thing with disappointing. There's no such word as appointing and then the negative is disappointing. Okay? The same thing with in. We can say incapable or inaccessible to mean not capable or not accessible. But insult is not the opposite of salt. Okay, inside is not the opposite of side. So not all words that start with these letters are negative. The same thing with immature, for example, is the opposite of mature, meaning not mature. But imagine is not the opposite of agin. Okay, the same thing with decrease is not the negative of crease. And irritate, we said that adding IR in front of many words can make it negative. Words that start with R, for example, irrational, irresistible, but irritate is not the negative, is not a negative. The same as illness, illiterate, illegitimate, illegal. They mean not legitimate, not literate, or not legal. But illness is the opposite of illness is not ness. Okay? So just a note that although some words can look like they have these prefixes, they're not actually prefixes. They're just part of the word. So now that we know how to build up words by using certain prefixes, let's practice. Choose the correct prefix. So we have fashionable. Is it unfashionable or infashionable? Worthy, unworthy or inworthy? Beaten, inbeaten or unbeaten? Perfection, imperfection or imperfection? And complete, is it incomplete or incomplete? Okay, so just A or B. Good. So a lot of these you'll know because they'll sound natural to you. You would have heard them. You would have seen them written. So a lot of these you'll know just from your experience with language. Let's have a look at the answers. Unfashionable, unworthy. They were unbeaten, imperfection, and incomplete. Good. Next one. Okay, let's check our answers. Unlovable, uninspiring, unsafe, untalkative, and uneasy. Now, I just want to point out that uneasy is not the opposite of easy. So uneasy doesn't mean difficult. Uneasy means to feel uncomfortable. So, for example, when I got off of the roller coaster, I felt uneasy, I felt uncomfortable. Or I entered the building and I had an uneasy feeling or an uncomfortable feeling. Okay, so uneasy means uncomfortable, not difficult. Next task. Add the correct prefix to make these words negative. Okay, good. Let's have a look at the answers. So unlikely, irregular, uncomfortable, indecent. So to be decent is to be good, a good person, to show decent behavior. Indecent is the opposite of that. To behave decently or to behave indecently. And the noun is decency, okay? Or indecency would be the negative. Impossible, impossibility, impossibly. Illiterate, illiteracy, and illiterally. Immoral, and then we have disengage. So to disengage, this is a verb. To engage with somebody, it means to pay attention, to have a two-way interaction. To disengage, it means to pull yourself away from the interaction or pull yourself away from the conversation. Maybe you're not paying attention. Next task, choose the correct word to complete the following sentences. So here you have the positive and the negative, and you need to read the sentence and gauge from context which one would be correct. Okay, well done, everyone. So the answers are, although the story was exciting to read, it seemed a little unrealistic. The ability to work under pressure is a very desirable trait in employees. The ability to be decisive is much needed in a successful leader. The former president was dishonored when evidence was leaked about an extramarital affair, and though the prison was protected by impenetrable glass, the prisoners managed to escape. Well done. Next task. Complete the sentence with the correct word and prefix. So here are the words. You need to not only choose the word to complete the sentence, but you need to add the correct prefix in front of the word. Okay, great. Let's have a look. So we have unbelievable. Though it sounds unbelievable, a new type of foam made of 24-karat gold, so light that it does not sink in a cappuccino, has actually been created by researchers in Zurich. Then it is nearly impossible to tell the difference with the naked eye. New pharmaceutical drugs often fail because they cause undesirable side effects. Undesirable meaning unwanted. And researchers have found that children who watch adverts for unhealthy food on television are more likely to want to eat high-fat and high-sugar food. And then finally, scientists ask the question, is human imperfection such a bad thing? Okay, just bear with me a moment, and I'm going to give you another task. I'm going to give you 4 words. And they're going to be different forms. One's going to be a word that's an adjective, one's going to be an adverb, a noun, a verb. And I want you to build those words for me. Try to create as many forms of those words as you can, including the negative form. Okay, I'll be right back.